Hi, Derek.
Hey, Nate.
You just completed an ultra marathon,
Yes,
50 kilometers.
a 50 kilometer.
What's that in double World War II victory metrics?
So 31.07 miles.
Okay. Have you ever done any races like this before?
No, actually, the only other, I'm not, I don't consider myself a runner at all. So the only other running kind of race I've ever done is, I think, I don't know if I've done even a 10K.
5K?
I've done a 5K. I know I've done several 5Ks,
Okay.
but I don't even know if I've done like 10K. So, I mean, I've participated in some other things. Like I did the bike leg of a triathlon, but not the run.
Which level triathlon? Because you have your Ironman,
No, it's just
half Ironman, Olympic,
well,
sprint.
it's a non-competitive try for the Challenge Athletes Foundation.
Oh, that
So
one.
yeah, that was
That one, if I remember right, it was a 20
um
mile bike.
no, I honestly think it was. I thought it was like almost 50, but I know it was at least 30.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it was a one that was a 1 mile swim, a 10 mile run, and I swear it was a I don't remember.
Okay.
That was like
The
13 miles ago, 13
Yeah,
years ago.
the triathlon I did, the bike portion I think was 25 miles.
Yeah,
That was an Olympic triathlon, the last one
gotcha.
I did. So 1 mile swim,
I
25
mean,
mile.
I could look it up and
Yeah,
tell you more exactly.
no, we're good. But what about the longest you've like hiked in a day? Have you ever counted that?
The longest I've hiked is probably I don't know. It was probably 20 something miles
Okay,
in a day.
that's a good day.
Um, yeah, that was. I've had some pretty good hiking days. I mean, I've done temp up and down, in 8 hours or so, but that's only like 15 miles.
Hmm.
But I've had some other pretty good hiking days.
I know you've done like I mean that's endurance stuff. I know the pace is different. Um,
Yeah.
what was the minimum pace to complete this marathon? Or sorry, ultra
Um,
marathon.
so it was a 9 hour cutoff. You had 9 hours to complete the 50K.
Okay.
So um, in when I was kind of just calculating it out, I mean, it's really my goal was to run at least be traveling 4 miles an hour the entire time.
Okay. Which is a very fast walk or a decent jog.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, I know people.
yeah.
I forget what speed walkers do, but
So, and if I maintain that, then it was like, well, great. Then I'm not having to worry about the that threshold. Obviously, this was a trail run as well, though. So I have timed myself just hiking, and when you start hitting elevation and you start going up trails,
mm-hmm.
you often drop to a mile an hour or less.
Yeah.
Depending on the intensity of the trail and the incline and how rugged things are. And parts of this were fairly rugged,
Mm-hmm.
so it.
So, for those who don't know you, who are you? Sorry, that should have been the first question.
um, so I'm your brother, um, but I mean I'm a dad and I'm a physical therapist and kind of running and doing my own business as well.
Why'd you do this? Why'd you, what motivated you to go? You know what? I'm going to do an ultra. Like, not. I'm going to do a 5K. I'm going to do a 10K. Maybe someday do an ultra. You're just like, you know what? Let's start at the top and work down, or maybe start
um,
at the top and be like, cool. I don't ever need a race again. I don't know.
so well, if I get emotional in some of this, I apologize. Um, Life is really challenging, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no matter who you are, life is challenging. Life is meant to be challenging. We're supposed to be stressed and pushed and challenged, and we grow more in the struggle than we ever would in the easy times. And so that's why it's designed that way. And and I have been experiencing some struggles that have been really hard in my personal life. And I went down earlier this year, or the end of last year, actually. Yeah, it would have been the end of last year, towards the end of the timeline doesn't really matter quite as much. Towards the end of the summer and the fall, right, last year, for my son's one of my son's lacrosse tournaments, and I was out there hiking. I was trying to get hikes in every single day, so I went down there and I was hiking, and I don't know, I hiked probably 8 or 9 miles that day. But I was out in St. George, and I was up in the hills up there, and I was like, this is amazing. And I thought, you know what? I thought I need to prove to not only myself, but also I want to show my kids that, you know what, life can be hard, and you can feel like you are up against a literal mountain, and you're like, I don't know if I can do it. And I wanted to prove to myself that no matter how hard that obstacle, no matter how impossible it seemed, that I could accomplish it. That I wouldn't stop until it was done. That I wouldn't give up until I crossed that finish line. And so I kind of use it for a metaphor in life, right? And I was down in St. George already, and so I was like, well, I wonder what races are around, and I just looked up, and up popped the Red Mountain ultramarathon.
Okay.
And I was like, that's it. That's what I'm doing. So I wanted to prove to myself that it was possible. And I wanted to show my kids that, you know what? Impossible things are only impossible until you do them.
So you decided less than a year ago to do the ultra.
Yeah.
You completed it, was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So how much training time did you have then?
And
I know there's,
so,
yeah, go ahead.
So not as much as I wanted, because I had tried to build up, right? I mean, I had only been hiking. I hadn't been really running. So I started, only doing like 3 mile runs, and I was working up until I had a little injury.
Tell me about the injury.
Um, so I was working up, increasing my training runs. I was getting up to probably, I don't know. I mean, I was 7 or 8 miles, you know. And I still had about 2 months before the race. I was figuring, if I get up to where I'm doing a long run of, 16 to 18 miles on a Saturday, then at least
You're halfway there.
I was working up to that, right? But I knew what I was taking on was ridiculous, right? I mean, I didn't have years to train for the thing, or even months,
or a history of running
to train for the thing, or a long history, or a history of any type of endurance running. And so, in the middle of that, I was helping a friend, and ended up falling off a ladder, and injured my leg really bad, to where I couldn't run. I mean, so I had to take about a month and a half off running at all. I had basically I fell off, and kind of landed on the side of my leg, on kind of a bar, and ended up rupturing the fascial the fascia in my lateral thigh. I mean, my lateral shin. Sorry. Ruptured the fascia in my lateral shin, and so basically made a big donut hole type of a shape into the muscle on the side of my shin
Jeez.
too. So my leg got crazy swollen. I was monitoring for compartment syndrome. Early on, I did have some neurologic involvement, so I was worried about developing compartment syndrome, which is really bad. And was trying to get that rehabbed before then I could get to the race. Anyway, but I wasn't going to withdraw from the race. I knew that, you know what, I'm doing it. So even if I get there and I haven't run at all before the race now, I was going to still do it, right? And so I was doing everything I could to try to rehab that leg. And within about 2 weeks before the race is where, well, maybe 2.5 weeks before the race is when I finally was like, okay, I can run on it, you know.
How long were you off of it, or unable to run?
About a month.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, about a month. Um,
That almost
and so it
reversed all your progress that you
everything
probably
that I had
made.
built up, right? And so, but then I know I'm just like maybe 2.5 weeks before the race, and I'm like back to running, but there's no way that I'm going to be able to go from, you know, hey, I'm finally running again to increase, you know, incrementally increase up to race day.
Right.
At that point, I'm gonna, you know, predisposition myself for an overuse injury before I even run. So
Right.
I was like, I've got to. I was trying to push it, but then I had to make sure that my body, I wasn't overdoing it to prevent some other injuries, so that I still could get to the race and do it. Right. So that made things a little bit interesting. Um, my first run, when I finally got back to running, I mean I ran a mile and I was like, oh my gosh, like my body, what happened,
Right.
you know. I got up to, then I ran 6 miles, and then I did 7 miles, and then the weekend, so about a week before the race, I did 8 miles, and the leg was doing okay. It was actually my plantar fascia, my Achilles tendons and things. That was what was screaming at me, and those are the things that I was worried. Again, if I just really push it, I'm gonna now predisposition myself for an overuse injury.
Right.
So, and so I was again trying to do all the rehab, trying to make sure everything was, um, I mean, tissue healing, just optimizing um, everything as best I could, but recognizing, you know, that yeah, I ran 8 miles. Great, I ran a quarter of what the race is going to end up being.
Right.
Right. But at the end of the 8 miles, I was like, okay, I did that quarter. I did that okay, you know, and it's like I can endure that 3 more times, right?
I mean, the second time's not as easy as
No,
the
no, it's
first,
not
but
as
the third
familiar.
time's even worse, and then you got the fourth.
Right. But I was like, I can do that. And even if I had to like go, all right, I I'm gonna have to rest, or I'm gonna have to do something different, you know. Um, my head was making up all these different scenarios, like what would it take me to finish if I just walked, right? What would it
Right.
take me to finish if I did this? Um, and that was all not accounting for the incline and the slow down that happens with that.
So
Um,
besides running, were you doing anything else to train? I mean, were you
I
doing
mean,
other things to build your cardio?
especially when I couldn't run, I was trying to do some other things. Um, Depending on what I was trying to do, if my leg was in a dependent position and I was increasing my cardiovascular output, it was actually increasing the swelling in my leg, and that was then
Right.
contributing to some of the neurologic stuff that was going on. And so I tried to maintain, is an important thing, especially for trail runs and things like that, especially if you're doing any downhill declines. I mean, quadricep strength is going to be incredibly important
Mm-hmm.
um, for the decline, and I knew that just some history of some knee issues, and that was going to be important. So I was trying to do leg press, and I was trying to do things like
Okay.
that in between.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I couldn't run, I was still trying to do that. But some of that was even complicated by that leg injury. But I was still trying to do as much of that type of stuff as I could.
Right.
Right. Um, so it
Okay.
just was significantly hampered by that leg.
Yeah. So I mean, race day finally happened. Um,
Yeah.
how like I mean,
Um,
approaching the starting line. How was that with everything?
so I mean, race day. There's hundreds of runners. They're all out there, but there was 3 different races going on. We all had the same start,
Right.
though, right? So it was there was a half marathon, there was a 30K, and then there was a 50K. So obviously the 50K runners were the smallest
Right.
pool.
You know, you could have
Um,
chosen that marathon or the 30K.
um, yes, and so I think actually most of the runners there were the half
Probably had already
marathon,
done those, and you're just
right?
like,
Well, most of them had done the half marathon. I mean, or signed up for it then. But I heard some guys talking, and some of the guys that were going to be running this thing were like, "Oh yeah, I'm just using this as a warm up race because I'm gonna be doing the Zion the Zion 60K, in a month or something
yeah,
like that." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, here we go." All these experienced runners who have probably ran multiples
and their whole life,
of these
and
things,
yeah,
and they've been doing it for years, And here I am, feeling fully unprepared, but determined to not let that stop me,
mm-hmm.
and determined to not stop, come what may.
Was that one of your goals? Just don't stop.
I knew I was going to finish. There wasn't I'm going to quit. There was never, I'm like, I'm done. No matter what happened during the race, I knew I was going
Okay.
to get it done. If I had to crawl my way through the finish line, I was going to get it done. And if
Mm-hmm.
it took me 3 days to do it, I was going to get it done.
Well, and I
Right?
know a lot of runners have, I think they're called micro goals, where yes, you have your big goal, finish the race, but
Yeah.
then it's like I'm not going to stop. I'm gonna every hill, I'm gonna respond a certain way. Every rest stop, I'm gonna do something, or hydration station, I'm gonna do something.
Mm.
Like, did you have any micro goals that
Um,
even helped you during the race?
I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. I would actually listen to them a lot while I was running,
Okay,
or while I was hiking, even before I even decided to do this run.
you listened to podcasts during the race too.
Um, that's actually all I listen to. I have a whole bunch of things that are downloaded onto my
Okay,
phone, and it's actually they're short, so they're not the full podcast.
uh huh.
And I just put this playlist on, and I listened. That's all I listened to the entire race too.
Was it repeating podcasts or
No, I have about 10 hours worth
okay?
of I guess podcast episodes or things like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
or clips. They're downloaded onto my phone as one big thing,
Okay.
and so I hit play, and that's what I listen to the whole time.
Now that's pretty different than most long distance runners. They have their pace music to help keep them in step and where they need to be. You did something pretty different. Well, I
Well,
don't know
I
if
knew that mine was not going to be it wasn't a pacing game. Mine wasn't like I'm trying to get my PR, right?
mm-hmm.
Mine was, I'm going to get this thing done no matter what.
Well,
Mine
I
was going to be, how much pain can I push through?
mm-hmm.
How much can I continue when my body is screaming, "What are you doing? You need to stop."
Mm-hmm.
How much can I continue to go? Um, and so one of those, probably about 50% of this playlist was this guy. His name's Eddie Pinero, and there's a couple things in that he says. He talks in one of the episodes that I listened to. He talks about this experience in working with a personal trainer, and the personal trainer would have him do these ridiculous things, like um, give him these just crazy workouts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about one of these workouts that he's doing. He's basically going from high uh, a high cardio type of an activity to then just pushing in some anaerobic type stuff
Okay.
and alternating back and forth, right?
Sounds like a CrossFit
And
style
yeah,
kind of workout.
kind of a CrossFit style workout. He's doing this with this personal trainer, and so he's down there and he's just he's supposed to push out just as many push-ups as he can, in this. And he gets to the end of it, and then he's like, my body's going to give out. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't do anymore. I feel like I can't do anymore. So he actually just collapses.
Mm-hmm.
And his personal trainer's like, don't ever do that. Like, don't ever do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's like, A, you're negating all the benefit you just got out of that. How much blood did you just push in those muscles? How much effort did you just put in to get to where you were? You fight all the way down. Even if your body is quitting on you,
Mm-hmm.
you fight all the way down. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to fight all the way down if that's what it comes to on this thing. I'm going to fight all the way down. And one of the other things he talks about running a half marathon. And he's like, I couldn't. If I started with the end of this marathon in my mind, I would be completely overwhelmed by the extent of how many steps it's going to take to get there.
Right.
So he said, instead, what I did was the next street light. I know I can make it to the next street light.
Yeah, that's one of those micro goals that a lot of runners use.
So
it's just make it
you
there.
basically step, street light. Next one, step, street light.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of it for me was, since I'm out and I didn't have something consistent like a street light.
Yeah. Well, what was the race like?
So the race consisted of 4 different loops. Each loop kind of went up through the hills and through the mountains.
Okay.
The first, the exact distance on the loops, I can't remember exactly, but the first loop was between 6 and 7 miles, I think.
Okay.
The second loop was 7 or so miles. The third loop was the biggest one. It was like 11 miles. And that one literally went up a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last loop was kind of the home stretch, and that was between 6 and 7 miles too. I can't remember exactly, but
Okay.
and so there were these 4 loops.
Basically, it sounds like 4 different hiking trails. Like,
yeah, they're
going up and back
basically
one.
these different trails, and then the aid station was in the middle of them all. So it was kind of like this central hub,
Mm-hmm.
and each loop kind of went off.
How are you being tracked?
So we had a time tracker that was as part of was on our badge, but that's
like a
all
GPS
it was.
or
It wasn't a GPS. It was
Okay.
just your start to end time.
Did it check in?
It did
So people
not. It
okay,
did
so
not.
people couldn't even see. It's like, oh, you just completed whatever
So
loop.
I had it on my phone. I used the Nike running app, so I had that going the whole time. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew how far into the race I was. I knew what my pace was. I knew how I was doing. And then also, I was sharing my location with my cousin, Kelly,
Mm-hmm.
and so she could look up on her phone where I was at, and then she had a map of where the race was. She knew which
Okay.
loops I was in.
I mean, she was there with your kids. Okay.
And I did pretty good for about the first 11 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. The first loop and a half, I was like, okay, I'm trucking along. I wasn't the head of the pack, but I wasn't the back of the pack either. I
Okay.
was like probably somewhere in the middle. I was like doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And but I was definitely getting tired already. It had already been the biggest run I had basically ever done to that point.
Right.
11 miles in. I should say normal run, right? I'm sure I've run more than that on certain days back in playing soccer all day long, right?
Maybe,
But
maybe not the distance though.
but it was in nowhere as good a shape as I went back there. But about 11 miles in, again, you're on trails and it is rocky and it's kind of rugged, and and I stepped on a rock and I rolled my ankle.
Oof.
And so the ankle, I mean, it wasn't too bad. I knew I could keep going. Um, but every time I'd step through it, my ankle didn't want to let that joint hinge forward.
Right.
So I started compensating.
And that's a natural response.
Right, and so I started kind of spinning off my foot instead. So then I started getting some blisters and
Were
then
you
some hip stuff instead.
consciously compensating, or you were
Um,
noticing your body was kind of doing it?
no, I would pick up that, hey, my body is doing this, and
Okay.
so I was trying to limit that. So a couple times I tried to see if I could. I actually tried to see if I could just make sure that joint was moving properly.
Mm-hmm.
And I would try to consciously make sure I was running correctly, but as I would get more and more fatigued, and it would actually then start hurting the ankle more,
Mm-hmm.
then I would compensate more, right? As just part of it. So the next 20 miles I ran with this unfortunate, frequently recurring compensations, which actually towards the end my hip was screaming worse than
Mm-hmm.
anything else, just because of how I was running, and I haven't had any issues ever with this hip, but
Right. But it was picking up the slack basically from your
it was
ankle.
trying to hold the slack from everything else. Yep.
Okay.
But
So I figured with your education experience, you were almost like very frequently, if not constantly, kind of self analyzing how's your
I
body doing, how's
I was
everything going.
constantly trying to do that. I was basically trying to, as if I had, the dashboard on a car, like, okay, where are my check engine lights?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right,
The
like,
lights kept popping off.
yeah,
It'd
I
be
was like,
like,
okay, that light, I can ignore that one.
uh-huh.
That one's okay. you know I can make it. It's like, yeah, when your oil light pops on in your car and you're like, I probably got, I don't know, maybe another 100 or so miles.
I mean, did you ever feel, well, if we're comparing it to, a car, did you ever feel like, wow, I'm getting pretty close to empty, like early on, or you're just
um
like, nah, I'm okay.
no, I don't know if I hit empty.
Okay.
Like, if we're talking about like
Well, just
fuel
just
and just
seeing,
reserve,
yeah.
and like, because I think my motivation to continue moving forward had nothing to do with my physical capacity.
And this
You know what I mean?
motivation
Right.
was your kids showing them.
Um, it was doing. I needed to prove that I could do an impossible thing
Mm-hmm. To yourself, to
to
your
myself
kids.
and to my kids.
Okay. Because I don't know if you've heard I forget which Navy SEAL said it. It's been quoted by a lot of Navy SEALs if you read their books. When you think you're done, you're halfway there.
Yes.
Um, and that's obviously that's a mental thing, but also like
Right.
physiologically speaking, yes, our mind can push us way past what physically we think we could do.
Right.
But also our mind, I would say most people, when they reach that point of failure, it's a mental thing, not as much of a
I
physical
think the
thing.
majority of that, right? I think that's what this race was, and I knew that going into this race. Physically, I knew I was not ready.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, I knew I was not prepared. Physically, I knew that I had not been able to put in the training like I should have been. And so I went into this race going, I need to depend solely on my mental and my emotional capacity
Mm-hmm.
to be able to endure and to continue on. Knowing that physically it's going to be screaming at me and it's going to say quit, like it's going to scream at me, what are you doing?
Right.
Um, but knowing going into that, I knew I was going to ignore that the entire time, right? That was
So
not going to be the factor.
so I know you. I mean, you did a lot of mental tricks. You were doing distraction. You were doing ways not to focus on pain. You're probably, I mean, hyper focusing
Um,
on the next street light. or
Well,
whatever
it
you
was a hill or a
made your
turn or
goal.
whatever I put
Yeah.
up ahead, right?
But of all these different either motivators or mental tricks, which I'm part of why I'm interviewing you, is I'm very curious about the mental, because if I was a betting man, physically I'd be like, we're gonna get the news that you couldn't finish, and to me, thinking if you were to finish, because I was, I mean, I've done 28 miles, one race. I've done triathlons. Like, I know there's a lot of like training to go into it.
Right.
And yes, I remember hearing about your injury and going, there's no way you're going to finish unless you had a wild card mentally. And that was what I was like, okay, if you're me thinking you doing this race, if you're going to finish, you had a wild card. It wasn't, oh yeah, I'm just naturally gifted with endurance, or I've been physically trained for this forever. You had a mental wild card that I'd be like, that would be the only way you could finish this race. Um, and maybe you had a couple. Like, what were your wild cards, your biggest things that pushed you through it?
Um, I think first and foremost, I think there's power in a lot of different things, right? I think the the power of love is incredible, and wanting to do something for my kids, to go to leave them an example, to leave them with this, knowing that they are sitting there waiting for me at the finish line,
Mm-hmm.
and I am going to get it done. That was a really big one. I actually, one of the things that continued to push me no matter how bad it hurt, and you hear other people do this all the time. And um, I watched a video probably about a month before the race, and it was uh, I don't know his name. I don't know how well known of a strength athlete he is. But he and I can't remember the name of the competition. Um, I don't know, what do they call it? The Samson hold or something like that.
Oh, like the strongman
Strongman
competitions? Uh
competition.
huh.
It's where they hold the pillars. There's
Yeah,
like the two
yeah.
pillars, and they're
It is
literally
called the
holding.
Samson hold. Yeah.
They're holding the two pillars.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the world record, I can't remember what it was, right? And just recently, a guy broke the world record,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't remember who he was from. He was from, like, I mean, again, I don't think that he wasn't one of these big, really well known strongmen, right? And he's holding on, and he gets to the world record, and then he goes almost a minute longer. He
Wow.
almost doubles the world record,
Wow.
right? I mean, it's like this insane feat,
Yeah.
right? And he said once it started hurting, he started, in his mind, he was holding his kids'
Mm.
hands as they were dangling from a cliff. He visualized it.
Mm.
He blew the world record up, right?
And if that was his
But
motivation,
he
yeah.
wasn't going to let go. And going into this race, before I even got there, before I even started my training runs again after my injury, I was like, my kids are at the end of this. I'm running towards them.
Hmm.
What if they needed me? And I visualize them needing me at the end of this thing. Not just needing me, right? But like, this was life or death, just like this guy did. Like,
Right.
I am not going to let go. I am not going to stop. I will push through and it's going to hurt, but I am going to get there, because I think one of the most powerful motivating things in this world is that love,
You pulled out an extreme wild card.
right?
Yeah.
So the power of visualization, though, right?
Yes.
It's just using that power of visualization of something that is like deeply meaning to
Mm-hmm.
you, right? And going, I am going to apply this to that. And therefore, nothing can conquer me, because nothing can conquer that
Right.
in me, right?
Right.
So that I would say that's number one,
Okay.
right? There's another thing though that I've actually am deeply passionate about, and I teach this all the time in my clinic and to patients and things like that. Like, pain is proof of your progress.
Hmm.
Pain is the necessary ingredient for you to be able to facilitate a change.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of change that I needed to facilitate in my life. So every time it hurt, and when it hurt more, and every time I took a step and I felt like I wanted to quit, it was like, no, pain is proof that I'm progressing.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And
So how
so
you're looking at the pain was
so the
different.
pain was in itself, I wanted to push into the pain.
Right.
I wanted to push into the capacity, right? It wasn't pain saying, red flag, you need to stop. It was pain saying, you're doing it. That hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Look it hurts. You did it again, and you did it again, and you did it again, and you did it again. And so when it hurt, it was proof of my progress.
You're embracing the pain, not fighting it.
Right. So pain became a motivator
Mm-hmm.
instead of something that was going to prevent me from getting there.
That's cool.
So, yeah,
So
those are the two big ones. I mean, there was
yeah.
other things
I
too,
mean,
right?
yeah.
There
But
was breaking it down into the micro goal, right? That kind of a micro goal. There
mm-hmm.
was there was the um, push the whole way down idea. There's the um, I mean, David Goggins, stuff through my head. He was on
Yeah.
that thing I was listening to as well. But a lot of different things like that.
Yeah. I remember it was the final week at basic training. We had our big 18-mile ruck march, and I remember pulling out something pretty similar um, to what you did. And yeah, I mean, we weren't going at that pace, and full combat kits. Like, we had the 40-pound, 40,
Right.
50-pound, rucksacks on our back. But I remember going, if I'm going to make it through this, I need that motivation. What is the biggest motivation? And same thing. It was my kids, and
Yeah.
I remember it was saying a prayer,
Yeah.
basically, and a very, very, very long prayer. I think longest I prayed in my life. It was like a 3 hour prayer, basically,
Yeah.
during that ruck march. Just, my kids need this. I need to be this for my kids, and just talking to my God, um, and that really, really pushed me through. Something.
Right. Well, if your why is strong enough, the how doesn't matter.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, and I don't know if I ever. This isn't a personal story, luckily, but there's the story of this guy who um, I forget, got lost in the desert,
Yeah.
and he it's kind of a funny story. He gave himself a pretty strong why, but he did everything wrong. I mean, he was sleeping at night, walking in the day. He put rocks in his mouth to suppress his thirst. He wasn't drinking enough water, but he made it through. Made it through the desert, made it out. They interviewed him.
Yeah.
Now, like I'm saying, it's kind of a funny story because they said, "Well, how'd you make it? How'd you do this? What kept you going?" And he said, "Well, I'm in the middle of a divorce, and I'll be damned if she gets the house." And that was his why. It's a weird why, but sometimes you
He was
tap in.
determined.
Yeah, sometimes tapping into whatever it is, and I mean, sometimes it's random. Sometimes it's like the best thing in the world, but
Well,
it gets you to the finish line.
I'm going to share another one with you. All right. This was another thing, and it already has to do with some of the stuff I've already told you, but um, this was pretty soon after I signed up for it. I had been trying to hike every day, and I
Mm-hmm.
was then started kind of doing little hike run combos. And one of the places I would go the most would be up behind where I live. There's a canyon up
Mm-hmm.
there.
By the way, for
Yeah,
context, the ultra happened in where are we in March? In
March.
March. So you were
Yeah,
trained. Your training was through the winter. You didn't have
yeah.
like a summer to be like, oh yeah,
No.
weather's nice. I could just go run forever. It's like winter, cold, frozen ground, like all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Um, so a lot of my training was actually either I was running through snow. I mean, when I would try to run up the canyon and actually do a trail type of
Mm-hmm.
run, it was often, even though we didn't have a really snowy winter,
The canyons
but
get it.
up the canyon it would be there. And so, um, or I mean, a lot of time in like the elliptical, that
Mm-hmm.
elliptical downstairs, but that's different too.
Very,
It's
yeah,
not the impact on your joints. It's not the and your pace is not the same. Your stride length is not the
yeah.
same, and it's different. Um, but in the late, well, I think I signed up for this again. It was probably late summer in the fall. Um, it was one of my kids' tournaments. But then I was out hiking, um, and on my hike, um, I was kind of just mentally going through things. I would hike to ground myself.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes hiking was therapy. You hit the mountain, and then you're with your thoughts, but
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you're also you're outside, right? And you're increasing your endorphins because you're doing this activity, and I feel like you get more clarity,
Mm-hmm.
mental clarity. You get some, you know. No, I was also going to therapy. Don't get me wrong there. But it was something that there's something healing about just you know doing that, getting out and hiking and experiencing it, right? And so while I'm out there, there along the trail, there's this area where there's just all these thistles, and I mean they're kind of pretty on their own,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean they're ugly, and then they're pretty. You get this beautiful little purple flower on the top, and on one of those there was this big, huge butterfly.
Mm.
It was a big yellow butterfly. Actually, it has been the screensaver on my phone.
Oh, there you go.
Right there. There's a picture of it. Right, the thistle and the butterfly.
Yeah.
Um, and so that is the butterfly I'm talking about. And I saw the butterfly, and I know I've probably shared some things about the butterfly before, but I looked at that butterfly, and it was on the thistle for a while, then it flew away,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, you know what? How did that become a butterfly? It literally had to get broken down.
Mm-hmm.
It was a caterpillar that got broken,
And reconstructed.
literally turned into protein soup,
Yeah.
broken to the point where it's unrecognizable. There's not much left of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a big old puddle of goo contained in that cocoon. And because of that, basically getting broken down to that point, it can then be remade
Mm-hmm.
and remade into something way more than the caterpillar ever thought it could probably be.
Right.
Right. But then in my head, also while I'm doing this run, I'm thinking, but what happens next? How does that, when that butterfly goes to emerge, it has to push through the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Has to. And if it doesn't, if something helps it, if it takes an easier route, well, there's not much of an easier route. If it's going to get out of that, if it's going to emerge from that chrysalis, if it's going to become anything more, it has to fight its way out.
Yeah. Well, an easier route is just not
Right?
fighting.
Not fighting. Well, if not fighting, it
Like just
dies.
don't do anything. Just give
If somebody
up.
does it for it,
Yeah.
if you went and you opened the chrysalis for it, right? You're like, man, that butterfly is struggling, and you go do it, the butterfly dies. It will never fly.
Right.
It's the act of pushing through that struggle. It's the act of pushing deliberately into that pain that pumps the fluid into those butterfly wings. They expand. They become what they were meant to be.
Hmm.
But it's the act of enduring and pushing through that exact pain after it's already felt like it's made this huge transformation. It's already gone from caterpillar to protein soup and broken down and tried to rebuild itself, but then it has to continue to push through that pain and continue to push through that struggle. And if it doesn't do that on its own, it will never fly.
Mm-hmm.
It will never experience a life that is completely different than what that caterpillar was. And so on my run as well, again, that was the screensaver on my phone deliberately,
Mm-hmm.
so that every time I looked at my phone, I see a butterfly
And you're
as well.
going,
I'm like,
wow, my muscles feel like protein soup
I'm like,
right now.
I feel like protein soup, but I've got to push into that pain.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've got to push into that pain. If I want change to persist, if I actually want to enact that change into my life, if I want to push that into being,
Mm-hmm.
I have to push through pain. So the race was not just the race. Again, the race I use as a complete metaphor for my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I also knew that going in, that the race wasn't just the race. I wasn't doing the race just to complete this. I wasn't doing it just to check a bucket list, check that one off. I was doing it to prove physically the concept of what needed to happen in my life in every other aspect.
Right. Well, and that's one of the great things about physical exercise and doing these challenges is, one, it's almost impossible to learn these lessons that you've learned just living and
Right.
doing everything like you do every day. But also it provides that opportunity to, okay, I'm going to physically apply what I am learning. And that's when the true lessons kind of take hold.
Right. Well, there's no other. I mean, there's really not very many other settings that are as perfect an application
Mm-hmm.
of what you're doing mentally and emotionally and everything as applying that to a physical task like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Right. It's just a quick apply. You can apply that directly.
Well, and you get feedback both ways.
You get immediate feedback
Yeah.
though with it as well. And
Mental and
so
physical.
that's why sports, that's why, I mean, any type of an endurance activity, you're trying to build and grow strength. Like, that's something I teach my patients all the time. If you want your muscle to get stronger, you have to shred it. You literally have to break it down, and then you build it up stronger.
Yeah.
And if you want to continue to gain strength, you have to break it down, and your body builds it up stronger. And if you're not continuing to push into that limitation, you're never going to gain strength. Actually,
Right.
if you're not pushing into that limitation, you're going to even start to lose what you have.
Well,
So
and also on more the mental side,
Mhm.
If you don't believe you're strong, if you don't believe you could do it, you're going to give up before your muscles have experienced that pain to grow.
Right.
And so having that belief gets us stronger, which reinforces our belief that we're strong, which gets us stronger. And
Right. It goes. They both go hand in hand.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're running. I don't know how long it's been since you started, but when do you start to feel either I'm almost there, like
Um,
getting close, like feeling like you could make it to the finish line?
well, again, I was kind of observing my time and my
Okay.
pace. Um,
Well, what was happening with you when you're getting close to the finish?
so, well, so I made I don't know if an error.
It's your
I
first time. Don't expect to
right.
be perfect.
Well, I did a lot of things that were like, oh yeah, I probably didn't need to do that. That was a mistake, 100%. Um, one of them is I took a protein anyway, the protein shake. I'll tell you all about that. That was actually kind of hilarious. Um, but after the second loop, right before we go into the third loop, and the third loop is the longest,
The big
right? The
mountain,
big
yeah.
mountain. It's like 2,000 foot elevation.
That's a
Um,
lot.
in the 10 miles, well, 11, almost 11 miles,
Yeah.
right, or around there. But parts of it were rough. I mean, um, but between that second and the third loop, I thought, you know what, I think I've got enough. I ran with a backpack,
Hmm.
right? Um,
Backpack or hydration pack?
no, I ran with a backpack.
You a full backpack.
I ran with a backpack. I had 6 4 ounces of fluid in there. I had hiking poles. I had some gloves. I
Uh-huh.
had some nutrition. I had electrolytes, and so I had all these things in the backpack with me. Right. I had a battery pack for my phone.
Right.
Different things.
I know it's tough with these
Um,
because he's like you need enough to make it through,
right.
but you don't
Well,
want to get weighed
I
down.
knew there were prolonged stretches between being able to go to an aid station, and it wasn't like, okay, if something happens out there, you're
Right.
possibly 6 7 miles away from
Anything, yeah.
anything, right? You got to get back to that aid station, which is down the hill. And so I had talked to a friend that has done a whole bunch of these things, and so she gave me some advice on what to do, what to bring, and I still went overboard.
Hmm.
But uh, so between that second and the third loop, I was like, well, I don't think I need to go refill anything at the aid station. I think I'm okay. And in my brain, I misunderstood one of the directions on describing the course.
Right.
Right. I thought there was an unmanned aid station, or at least a water station, halfway through the third loop,
Oh,
but it was actually halfway through the fourth loop.
okay.
The final loop, there was an
Uh-huh.
unmanned water station there. So I thought I was going to come up upon a thing of water, and I could just refill my water, because in my brain it made the most sense. Well, that's the longest loop, so having one in the middle of that, which so
Right.
no, so I was like, well, I'm just going to keep going.
Uh-huh.
So I got like about 2/3 of the way through that loop, and I was out
Oh no.
of everything, and I was like, oh my gosh. Um, so by the time I made it back down to that aid station, after the third and the most rugged and the most brutal of the loops, I made it back down. Then I was like, okay, oh my goodness, I'm happy I made it down here.
Right.
Like, and so, and they had like fruit, and they had different things. They had like, and I was like, okay, I am actually going to like stop at the aid station for a second. But after stopping,
Mm-hmm.
it was so painful and hard to get
Oh
going
yeah.
again on the
Yeah.
last loop. It probably took me, I mean, it probably took me a mile before I was like, okay, I can actually like jog again.
Mm-hmm.
My legs just didn't want to work. Everything
Yeah.
like gave up
They're
and
like, hey,
froze up
we're
on me.
done. What are you
It like just
doing?
froze up on me. It took me a bit before I could even like go.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And at that point, how many miles do you have left?
so at that point,
That last loop.
so that last loop was about 6 miles. So that at that point, I basically done a marathon,
Yeah.
right? And then I still had the last little, well, almost, yeah, it was between 5 and 6 miles, I think,
Okay.
that last little stretch.
I mean, as you kind of got going on that last loop, was it just like I'm almost
Well,
there, or was
well,
it?
and then I was communicating with Callie, our cousin, and because my kids were waiting there. It definitely took me longer than I was anticipating, um, and but so I was communicating with her, and I was like, "Hey, I think I've got probably about 4.5 miles at one point, maybe 5 miles still
Uh-huh.
to go." And since she was tracking me, she's like, "Oh, I just brought you up on maps. You're like you're like less than 2 miles away. I think you're closer than you think you are." Because that final loop, you kind of run through the trail,
Uh-huh.
and then you go on the road for a little while. And then it was only like 2 miles up the street was the finish line.
Okay. Uh-huh.
But you go up the road and then you cut back into another trail,
Oh.
and then it goes up the hill, up through there to complete the remainder of the stretch.
Uh-huh.
And so she was like, "I think you're pretty close." And I was like, according to my running app, I still have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
There's no way, like I'm not 3 miles or 4 miles off, on the app.
it's not like, oh, I'll just take a shortcut.
Yeah.
It's like
So I cut into the hills, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, those are big hills," right at the end.
hmm
And
well, after expectations and
so I was like, you hit the road, and you're like, "Oh, I've got to be getting close to the park."
right.
Okay, here we go. And then you cut back into the hills again,
That's depressing.
and you're like, "Oh gosh." um,
So when did you finally see the finish line?
so once you come down, you go up into the hills there again. You come down the hills. Um, the finish line, then you kind of run almost through a little neighborhood, and then it's just a
Okay.
park right there,
hmm
right? So you don't actually see the actual finish line until you're 300 yards away from the finish
Okay.
line.
And it's about then it's when you saw your kids, or where were your kids?
Um, so well, you're kind of running through a neighborhood, so that it's like fenced,
Uh-huh.
and you're back running on like literally like the sidewalk, and and then you kind of emerge out of this fenced area, and then there's the finish line,
Okay.
and they had a big old sign,
Yeah.
and so I came up to them, and they came up, and I was like, "Guys, you guys want to run through? You guys want to run through
Uh-huh.
the finish line with me?" And so I had been really struggling though.
Yeah.
I was hurting after that last hill was brutal. I mean, every step I was taking was excruciating. My hip just felt like I was getting stabbed at that point. My ankle was just screaming at me every time I took a step on it. And so I was going way slower than I thought, way slower at this
Sure.
point. I mean, if I got to the point where it was like, if it is a big climb, my hip would not want to lift with
Mm.
me. So it was like I have to
Like dragging a leg.
walk and drag that leg up
Yeah.
the hill, you know. But as soon as I saw my kids and we were gonna run through that finish, I was like, "Let's run, guys!"
Yeah.
And the video shows us running through. Probably looks like I'm slowly jogging, but
I mean,
at that point, it felt like everything I could, and that was like max effort. That was me
yeah. Yeah.
pushing, to run through the finish line with them. But
So what was your time? How close were you close to not making it?
I mean, I was getting fairly close to not making it. I mean, there was still people that finished after me, but um, I part of me was like, I'm never doing that again, and part of me though was like, you know what, I could have done way better. So I don't know. We'll see if I ever consider doing that again, but um,
well, and most ultras they have cutoff times, and you're
yeah,
making every cutoff time.
I was making the cutoff times. Um, I mean, there was people along the way, people that I mean, I know there was a lot of people that I ended up passing that I know that there was a lot of people that didn't finish it. I was coming back down from that third loop. And there was, after coming back down that third loop, there was still people going up the
Oh,
third
wow.
loop.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, you guys are not going to,
Yeah.
there were several people that I passed. They were still going up.
Yeah, I know ultras have a pretty decent percentage of DNFs.
But
Well, you made it.
I made it. It was brutal. It was definitely the most physically difficult thing I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say mentally or emotionally difficult thing I've ever done though.
Hopefully it helps though.
Even though that was a huge factor, and that was the factor in actually getting me done,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it was also a metaphoric application of some of the things mentally and emotionally I've already had to put in and applying it into an impossible task that then I knew I could make possible.
Right.
Based,
But it wasn't
based
possible
on that.
till you crossed that finish line.
Right. It was impossible until I did it.
And then you're in a wheelchair for 5 days. Like,
no,
how was after?
Thankfully, I had a good support team. I had again my kids at the finish line. They were fantastic. My cousin was amazing. I had a friend there, amazing. So I got kind of taken care of right at the finish line. And I mean, took an ice bath pretty soon after that, and using some of the support network and system I already had, some of the tools that I was given, and then using my knowledge of rehab,
Mm-hmm.
which I think became vitally important. The rest of Saturday was difficult walking.
I bet. Did you count your blisters?
It mostly turned into one big one.
Oh, good. They came
I still have one toe that's kind of purple. My other toenails are like kind of rough.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, one thing that I brought with me that I wasn't sure was going to be useful, and then became super important. One of the last things I put in my backpack was they look like 1980s, tough guy gloves.
Uh-huh.
They're like the fingerless, but the leather, and then it's like that.
Oh, they have the open holes.
Yeah, the holes. They kind of look like that.
Were they like
right?
mesh
They were
parts?
Well, the back was like that mesh, right? Uh-huh. The back was like that mesh, and the palm it's like a thickened leather, right?
Okay.
I actually used them in the triathlon that I did. They're for biking, right?
Oh,
just to avoid the blisters on your hand for the bike. And I was like, you know what? I'm just throwing those in my backpack. That became actually so important for me, which sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was talking about my toe. That's why it came up. I probably stubbed my left foot a dozen times.
Okay.
Like tripping on a rock, right? Just smashing my toes into a rock,
Yeah.
Because I'm exhausted. I'm not picking my hip up like I should, because due to pain and due to fatigue, and I'm not clearing rocks. And I think I'm going to clear it, and I just smash my toes into it instead. And I fell probably twice.
Okay.
And I mean, I had the backpack on. I mean, it was some of the falls were dumb, right? Just how bad I went down, right? And I still have one little tiny mark on my hand, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to run with these gloves on because I am pretty sure I'm probably going to fall again.
Okay.
I probably fell 6 times, like fell hard like 6 times, but then I was like catching myself with my hands that had this thickened leather pad on there that was like, then I would like catch myself, and then my fall wasn't as bad, and then I would just get right back up and keep going. And so it was like not anticipating me falling, right? I wasn't necessarily planning on the failure or planning on the mistake, but going, I'm pushing myself to the point where it probably will happen.
Right. I mean,
and where it's going to happen. I'm pushing myself way beyond my limits, and you're going to have a misstep, and it's not going to go right every time, and you're going to fall. So get ready to pick yourself right back up.
mm-hmm. That was a mental thing.
And so the gloves were also a mental thing, but they became physically important.
Right.
But then also as I'm running, they became this reminder of you're going to keep getting up. You're going to keep getting up, and you're going to get up again. And that's okay. And you're going to fall. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get up again. And so the gloves became that reminder too, right? So, I mean, getting back to the injury, I have this one toe that's still like purple. that is
Nothing long term, nothing.
nothing too nothing too crazy. I mean, blisters are healing on my foot. My hip improved within just a couple days.
Okay.
My ankle took a little bit of time, but not too bad. So I got back on. I mean, the Saturday was tough. Sunday, we drove from St. George back home.
What do your kids say? What did they think about this whole
They
experience?
actually, I think they were incredibly proud of me.
Awesome.
I think it was an amazing weekend. And it was an experience to share something together. And doing it, it also was, you know what? It was what I was hoping it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Showing them that, you know what, impossible things are possible, and you can do things that seem like they should be impossible.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Don't quit. Just keep going. Right. But come Monday, starting on Monday, I forced myself to start walking at least 3 miles a day.
Yeah.
At least 3 miles a day. I had actually a crazy week. The next week, I was doing several things. I flew to California and back twice. But I was like, you know what? I'm walking from the airport. I'm going to walk from the airport.
Well,
that's about 4 miles away. I'm going to walk from the airport. And it was like, okay, I'm limping from the airport.
mm-hmm.
Barely moving, but I was like, I've got to get things moving. I've got to get this to decrease the soreness. I need to get joints moving. I need muscle tissue to move. Not to the point where I'm redamaging it, but I need it to move in a healthy way that then it will heal normally, and to prevent some of the abnormal stuff that will happen if I don't start moving again.
Right. Things start tightening up and don't ever want to loosen.
Yeah. So even though you've done some ridiculously incredible thing, if you're like, hey, that's the capstone, and you don't keep moving,
mm-hmm.
right? Well, then you're asking for worse, right?
Right.
And so it was a similar thing. It was like, great, I did this, but now I've got to move. I've got to keep going anyway. So that the benefits I got from it, I rehabbed the injury and the damage that was done due to the difficulty of it, but then you keep moving anyway. And that's...
Well, I know for you, just, in your profession here, this is another, like, practicing what you preach kind of thing. Like,
100%, it had to be that. It had to be that.
Yeah.
I mean, all the rehab protocols, all the you know what? Every time I tell a patient, I need you to do this 3 times a day. I need you to move. I need you to push it. I need you to push into that difficulty. Like, you need to. And I was like, in my brain, I'm like, I need to. Like, I've got to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think my body could just like literally lock back up, and I wouldn't have been able to move. And I think due to the inadequacy of me being able to prepare for it, it would have been way worse.
Yeah.
On trying to recover from that if I wasn't diligent on that right out of the gates.
Right.
As well as, again, I think I'm grateful for the support, I guess, team that I had there at the end too,
mm-hmm.
which was fantastic, which really helped out.
Cool. What's next for you? Any other, or just keep going with
I don't
life.
have anything like that
And
in the near
there's
future.
100 milers out there.
Um,
There's the week-long
I don't have
ones.
anything
There's
quite like that. My kids and I, we are planning on doing Timp again this summer.
okay.
Um, but it's now the application of the metaphor.
Yeah.
It's a continued application of
Right. Applying it to regular life.
yes, right.
Yeah.
Now it's I proved it. Now apply it.
Do you happen to know how many steps you took?
You know, I don't actually. You know
So
what?
I
I wonder if I can. We might. You know what? I tracked the whole thing on the Nike app.
well,
So
I think from what I calculated. Oh, I don't know offhand. I'll have to.
well, I might be able to tell you.
Well,
Um,
here's what I calculated. I'm gonna look it up right now. You did about 60,000 steps, and that was just from my calculations. But I was looking at that, and I don't know if you know or if you've looked at the challenge coins that I have.
I have, yes, sir.
You completed the Vietnam challenge coin. Every step you took was how many people who died in Vietnam,
Wow.
and you've earned that one. That's for you.
Well, that's pretty cool.
So it has a Vietnam challenge coin on it, um, to remind you how many steps you took, and also how many people
Wow.
died in Vietnam. Um, that's not the biggest medal that I have. The Civil War one's tough because it's 600,000 steps,
Yeah,
and the Civil War was a very brutal
that's cool.
war, but the Vietnam one wasn't a small one either. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, there's that to remind you how many steps you've taken. Um, and I know, I know for me, yeah, sometimes that's a motivator. Is not just people who failed in a race, but who am I running for that
Right.
didn't make it as far or as long as they wanted to, and many people um, in wars didn't make it as far, and so for me, yeah, I run for them too. Um, in
Yeah.
fact, I mean, even I mentioned yesterday, I even went to a funeral of a battle buddy who didn't make it as far as I think everyone would have hoped,
Right.
and that's just something to push that pushes me through. But something to remind you too. Um,
That's pretty cool, mate. I appreciate
anyways,
that.
anything else before
Um,
you run along?
hmm. No, I appreciate this. You know, kind of a chance to just chat about it and
Yeah.
talk about it. And thanks for making me cry. You know,
Oh,
as I talk about
you bet. As a therapist, that's my
some
job.
whys.
But
Well,
I'm really happy to hear about this. This very much was amazing to me. I honestly, a lot of your family was worried that we were going to get the message of sorry, couldn't do it. Um, because the message before was I didn't train as long. I got injured. Like these things keep happening, and I'm still doing it. And everyone's like, "Oh boy!" And you proved
well,
yourself or your doubt wrong. I'm sorry for doubting.
I mean, I think from the outside there was plenty of reason to doubt.
Yes. But like I said,
um,
I was hoping you had a wild card, and you did a couple. Um, and
yeah,
you know even more of that tool now. So I hope it helps you with
right.
everything else.
Well, it was a way of reinforcing some of the things I feel like I know, but that are hard to apply.
Right.
And I had to apply it to something that was going to be stupid hard.
Right. Well, congratulations. Good
So that
job.
I could prove it to myself and no, it's the continued application that's the important
Yeah.
part of
Cool.
it.
Well, we're excited to hear about that. later. Oh, he just woke up like, oh, story's over. Thank you, Roni, for mediating.
Good job. You did a great job, buddy.
And yeah, we'll talk later.
Yeah. Thanks, Nate.
Yep. Thank you for tuning in. If you would like to learn more about what we do, please scan the QR code in the corner or click on the link below. We can help you or your company reduce the effects of trauma and increase the work and life satisfaction. Also, I challenge you to challenge yourself with one of our Challenge Coins challenges. There are many medals and challenges to choose from, and not only could it improve your chances of completing your health goals, it will get you an amazing medal to display with pride for your accomplishments. Also, all of our proceeds go to help veterans. Thank you again for joining in. Toe the line, hold the line.